Hello and welcome to this teaching video on Cécile Chaminade's Chanson Bretonne, Opus 76, number 5. My name is Lynn Jones and I teach at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and today you join me in my home studio. Cécile Chaminade lived from 1857 to 1944 and is today known as one of the most well-known female French romantic composers. Like many women during this era, her father forbade her from studying composition formally. She wanted to study formally at the Paris Conservatory. In fact, she studied piano with her mother, and she wanted to pursue composition. And although her father did not allow her to study formally, she did study privately with well-known teachers. And despite this hindrance, she was awarded the Legion of Honor in 1913, a first for a female composer. Chaminade enjoyed a career performing in France, England, and several cities within the United States. She composed and published music during her lifetime, even recording many of her piano works. She wrote mostly works for voice and piano and solo piano, some duets as well and duos, and also some orchestral works that were almost never performed during her lifetime. Some of her most popular pieces that we know of today and were also popular during her lifetime are Scarf Dance and Concertino for piano and flute. They were wildly popular as parlor music during her life. My favorite four-hand piano duet that she composed is Six Pieces Romantiques, Opus 55, and I recently assigned that to a piano duet team of mine, and it's an absolutely stunning set. She is one of my favorite composers. I feel that she writes music that is beautiful for solo piano and that her pieces should be performed much more frequently. Chanson Bretonne is an early advanced piece at level 10 in Dr. McGraw's Pianist Guide, and the score can easily be found on IMSLP. A wonderful piece to study before this one is Grieg's lyric piece, Opus 71, number 3, what we know as Puck, since the characters are similarly playful, lively, and brilliant. Chanson Bretonne is an excellent competition piece and recital showstopper that you can assign to your students in high school and beyond. Even though this is a level 10 piece, an early advanced piece, and has healthy technical challenges for the advancing pianist, this 5-page piece is in a clear A-B-A-B-A structure with a near repetition of the 2 A sections and the 2 B sections. There are 3 A sections total, but 2 of them are nearly identical. So it immediately takes a 117 measure piece down to a 51 measures of distinct music to learn. It's tuneful, it fits well in the hands, and its harmonic sense makes it easy to memorize for students. Once you go over the overall A-B structure of the piece and you write in those lettered sections, break the piece down into phrases so that they learn this piece one phrase at a time. The way I like to do this is to play each phrase. You can play a recording of the piece for them, or to play the big A section so that they can start to hear the phrases themselves. And I love to not write slurs over each section, but to bracket them so they can organize the material really, really clearly. The A section has 3 clear 4-measure phrases, and the technical challenge within this section is that the melody is in the top fingers of the right hand with rolled tenths in the left hand and blocked octaves in both hands. The pianist has to project the tops above all else, and I like to begin the very first lesson by choosing the fingering in the right hand a tempo or at tempo, so that they're not choosing a fingering in a slow tempo. I like to have them play lightly since it's really easy to kind of dig into this piece and kind of key bed or dig into the key bed for students, since it's marked forte and markatissimo in the beginning, but I like to have them play lightly and choose a fingering up to tempo. And since this is has thicker octaves and chords within the piece in order to practice the projection. Once you do choose a fingering with them and they write in the fingering, have them play the tops only with the fingerings that they chose, so that they're playing the melody but with the accurate fingering. And that's a wonderful way for them to practice the notes, to get the melody memorized in their ear, and to learn the rest of the notes within this section. The other technical challenge here is not just the fingering, which is so crucial in that first lesson, but the rolled chords in the left hand. The left hand has, and it does it again on D, up to F, and these rolled chords can be difficult for these pianists who are younger, in middle school and high school, or even collegiate students that might be taking secondary lessons, for example, that aren't used to rolled chords. And I like to tell them to roll over the keys, staying close to the keys with a high wrist, using the middle pitch as the pivot finger, aiming towards the thumb, and so forth. Now let's talk about this B section. This B section, and really much of this piece, is easiest to play if the student can memorize the phrases quickly while learning the notes, using predominantly muscle memory, which is about 80% of what we do for this advanced music anyway, but to use mostly muscle memory, memorization of that melody, and specifically placement of the left hand chords. So they need to devote most of their practice time to this B section because it has the most contrast, more frequent harmonic changes, technical challenges, and it makes up a majority of the section. The B section has 5 phrases of longer phrases as well, so 4 up to 8 measure phrases. And again, here I'll have them identify the beginnings and endings of each phrase after I play it for them, or you can play a recording for them and have them bracket those sections. The first 2 phrases in this B section are a series of inverted chords that cascade down the piano in a rapid tempo. It requires a toccata-like touch, so when the student is learning the piece, make sure they avoid digging into the key bed and playing loudly. I have my students identify the inverted chords, but even before that, a few weeks before the lesson, I like to just have them practice this basic technical exercise that they may not have done for quite a while since they're level 10 students, but root position, first inversion, second inversion chords, ascending and descending down the piano in the keys that are presented in this B section. So we have A minor, back down, and again, not only do I want them to do this exercise, but I want them to capture the toccata-like touch that they will need for this section. So I want them to play staccato, and I ask them to play with a weightless upper arm with focused fingertips so that no notes are ghosted or empty. And on top of that, if they can do it, and at this point most of them can, is to voice to the top. And then from here, we have them do all the other keys that they're going to have to play inverted chords in. So B flat major. It also comes in a G minor, and so forth. Again, I think that these 2 phrases in the B section are the most challenging because they are rapid, right? And after the rapid section, we also have to have these dynamic contrasts of piano and forte. So playing these rapid chords and leaps with the correct dynamics takes a lot of agility that is really effective once they can get it up to tempo. I find that using imagery is effective to helping students capture the feel in the fingers, since this is a rapid piece and a competition piece and a showstopper. And I like to just use phrases that might be really creative. I'll suggest, can you think of your fingers as elephant, ballerina, tippy toes, dancing across the keys? And or sometimes they can think of other things that make them giggle a little bit and kind of capture the feeling that they want. And in combination with this imagery that helps them feel lighter on top of the keys and to also get them to play accurate, I really like to have students play this piece thinking vertically. And stick with me here because this is romantic music and we do have the long lines. However, in order to avoid sloppiness in this piece and have the accuracy that they need to think and organize their thoughts in small chunks. So I do tell them to think vertically in these more challenging sections with thicker chords, rapid moving chords, thicker octaves. And it just really helps them stay organized and avoid missing a lot of notes up to tempo. I find that the rapid tempo over performance tempo helps hold the phrases together while they're thinking vertically. And if I ask them to think in terms of long lines, a lot of the technical work within the phrases can get sloppy. Also for performance, I have found it important with my students who play this piece to pick 3 performance tempi because we're always going to play on a different instrument pretty much every time we perform. It will be acoustically different in the hall and they may have to make slightly different pedaling choices, and in this piece it's mostly accent pedal. And I want them to have 3 tempi that they can use really effectively in performance should the space and the piano require it. Not only do I have them pick 3 different tempi, but I make sure that they can oscillate and change their tempo from a faster tempo, let's say their 3rd tempo is the fastest, and even slow themselves down if needed. If they kind of catch themselves in an emergency, they start the piece and they realize, oh, I've started too fast and the feel of these keys, the rebound of the keys isn't what I anticipated, or the hall is so alive and so wet that they can barely hear their staccatos, things like that. So I really teach them how to use tempo to their advantage to get a really effective performance. So again, combining the idea of imagery to make the technical components easier and having a really confident sense of the tempo, having 3 distinct tempo and being able to move between those in performance, I find to be some of the best tips I can offer in having your students play this piece with confidence when they play it on stage. Thank you for joining me today. Please feel free to reach out to me at lynn-worcester@utc.edu if you would like to discuss this piece more or if you have any questions. And thank you for joining me.